Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to be my look at this month in Dragalia Lost for the month of December 2020. In case you're not aware, at the beginning of every month, the game's director, Okada, posts an update about what's to come in the month ahead, as well as for the future of Dragalia Lost as a whole. So we'll read through the news post today, talk about everything featured therein, and we may even spend a little bit of time just talking about the state of Dragalia, as well as some of the datamines and leaks that have been swirling around, since those are a really interesting topic, and yet, because I don't really want to spoil people who don't want to know about that, I'll probably save that for the end of the video, but timestamps will be available if you want to skip around to look at certain subjects. So, let's get started. We've listened to our nice Princess Connect background music and watched Mitsuba stroll long enough here. So let's go ahead and click into this month in Dragalia Lost, and fortunately our background music will accompany us as we read through this. As always, Yuji Okada, the director of Dragalia Lost, starts off by thanking us for playing DL, and then he kind of goes into a recap of the Princess Connect Redive, a Voracious Visitor raid event. It's currently live. He hopes we're enjoying the encounters between the denizens of the Halidom and Pecorine, a special girl from somewhere entirely different. He also hopes we're enjoying this event's original theme song, sung by Mao, M-A-O. You'll be able to listen to it during the story scenes and can enjoy rocking out to a guitar arrangement while questing. What's more, prize showcase featuring the adventurers Pecorine and Forager Mitsuba and the dragon Lumiere Pandora from this event is currently live. So all of this is known information. Just to recap, I talked a little bit about my thoughts on the event in the summoning video. I enjoy it. There's definitely a lot of reused assets, but the music being entirely original, the menus looking a little different, it feels sort of fresh enough to me, and the story was so wholesome that I actually ended up enjoying it more than I expected, I would say, going into it. After the details just generally about the event and the showcase, we get a deep dive on Pecorine. So because Pecorine is the only character with the Princess Connect Redive game to join us for this event, we're able to devote a lot of effort to implementing her existing appearance and animations with a Dragalia Lost flair while remaining faithful to the source material. You may notice that her 3D model holds her sword with two hands rather than one, just as she does in her art. If you're familiar with her game, you'll definitely recognize the skill animations and cut-ins during battle, which come straight from the source. Yeah, that's something really cool about her that you may have seen. It's pretty crazy. She actually has like live 2D animation on her skill cut-in. So when you use her skill, her portrait moves. It does a little animation. That's something we haven't seen before in Dragalia Lost. I think the closest thing might be how Gala Yuden's portrait on one of his skills, his second skill, will show a bunch of other characters alongside him to do that attack. But I think this is our first time we've actually had an animated cut-in, which is kind of cool. I kind of wish they would do that for more characters going forward. Otherwise, they also say, despite this painstakingly accurate recreation, we are careful to ensure that Pecorine plays just as smoothly and enjoyably as any other adventure. And I have heard that she is a blast to play, seems very fun, ended up being pretty strong. Forager Mitsuba also ended up being better than I expected, honestly, in terms of her performance in the DPS sim, but still nothing that you would need to summon for, just a little bit better than I expected. I was happy to see that. As perpetually peckish as she is, Pecorine can't resist sneaking in a little bite here and there, and while she's out questing, and even when she's placed into a team on the Edit Teams screen, that's a nice touch. For those of you who have summoned her, I hope you enjoy all of the little details they put into her character. I'm glad they did that. It kind of reminds me of Mega Man and how, you know, his entering the battle animation and his failure animation would be a little bit different, and the sound effects are a little bit different. In terms of this collaboration event, it also reminds me of the Mega Man collab we had last year in that it's not totally blown out in the ways our bigger collabs have been. Mega Man was very authentic to the source, and you know, we didn't expect there to be that deep of a story with the Mega Man event because there's not that deep of a story in most of the Mega Man games. And I think that this Princess collab event, at least as far as the plot so far, has been pretty faithful to what Princess Connect is all about. One other cool piece of the collab that you may not have realized if you're just playing Dragalia Lost is they actually put some Dragalia characters, specifically Pipple and a few variations on Pipple, into the Princess Connect game as a piece of furniture you can have in your home base in that game. And it's really cool. It's like a little tree full of Pipples. They do various animations. There's also like a cooking pot that Pipple jumps into, and it's kind of like a hot spring or sauna for him, just sitting in the pot and being really happy that he's about to be eaten. It's something cool to see, because we haven't seen Dragalia appear really in any other media. That's the first time I think Dragalia has actually crossed over into another IP. So that makes me happy. I feel like I would love to see Dragalia in Shadowverse, in GBF, etc., other Cygames franchises, even some Dragalia Lost spirits in Smash, because I don't think it's that realistic we're going to get Yuden. There's already a lot of sword characters, right? And he's not exactly the highest priority one, but if he were to appear, that would be kind of insane. Having said that, even if there were like some spirits or something, that type of representation would be pretty neat. After mentioning this about Pecorine, they show some screenshots of her and her different animations and her chomping on Rice Ball there. And then finally, please note that Pecorine is not a limited adventure and will continue to appear in future summon showcases. That's pretty much how I plan and hope on getting to appreciate her in my own collection one day, as maybe I'll be lucky enough to summon her in the future, maybe not. But for now, I'm probably not going to try go for her, having already got what I wanted on that showcase. Next up, we have plans for this month, starting with Mana Spirals. So Mana Spirals for the adventurers Serena and Yuya will be added at 11:40 p.m. December 6, 2020. Cool to see these two characters getting some love. There just aren't really any new 4-star characters introduced into Dragalia anymore. It's been half a year. I think the last character we got was Xiao Jing that I can remember. Last notable character for sure because of his shared skill. And yeah, that was a long time ago. That was in May? So we haven't had a new 4-star in a while. I'm glad that at least some of the existing 4-stars are getting some love with these Mana Spirals. And Serena and Yuya are both characters I like. Yuya is a very funny character with his chariot that's basically a motorcycle, the big pompadour, and his kit, which is kind of interesting with Chicken at Heart. He got a little better in version 2.0. He got a strength buff on his second skill. It ended up being a pretty good shared skill. It's sort of comparable to Valentine's Orion shared skill, but it gives you a shield as well. You may or may not want the shield depending on the context, but it is an extra buff icon if you care about the number of buffs you have. So yeah, Yuya has a pretty decent shared skill. He's also a good backliner, and Serena is a good backliner as well. Yuya gives critical rate, and his Chainco ability is Dragon Haste, and Serena gives Dragon Haste, and her Chainco ability is hits equals critical rate. So right now they both serve the same niche where they're not particularly good in battle, but they are useful as backliners for their Chainco ability specifically, and in Yuya's case he's also useful for a shared skill. Maybe this will open them up. If the DPS on them is good enough, maybe it'll open them up for being used in Legend Volk. Or at the very least, bring them up to par with some characters who are a little bit more popular. Serena is just super adorable. Yuya is a cool and unique character. I'm glad to see them getting Mana Spirals. Really caught me by surprise. Not that we got Flame Mana Spirals, because you could kind of tell that from the event information. There were some story quests that get half stamina and double drops, and those usually align with when Mana Spirals appear because the story quests encourage you or are a way for you to get tier 4 orbs, which you need for Mana Spirals, so it kind of aligns. But I didn't expect it to be these two. I was thinking it might be like Reina and Ramona because Renee got one. And here we are with Serena and Yuya. I might Mana Spiral them, but I'm kind of lacking resources. I committed to Mana Spiraling Lowen as one of my next projects because Lowen's a character I see used in a lot of free-to-play comps, especially for people who don't have Grace. And I want to have him available in case I want to do any builds or any comps for auto where I want to have that budget alternative compared to Grace. And frankly, Lowen's just a good healer for that type of content, and I expect him to probably be used in Legend CL eventually. So we have Serena, we have Yuya. The next thing for this month is a Dragonyule-themed Onslaught event will be held in mid-December, alongside a summon showcase featuring Dragonyule versions of one male and one female adventurer. Fascinating that they would call this out. I think this is one of the first times that they've called out the gender of the adventurers who will be appearing on a summon showcase. It's intriguing, to say the least. I'm not sure if there's a particular pair of characters they have in mind, and that's why they're saying it this way. But yeah, one male and one female adventurer. That sounds good to me. Dragonyule versions of adventures from last year and earlier will return in a subsequent summon showcase. Alright, so pros and cons to this. We saw with Halloween this year on the Gala remix that aligned with an Onslaught event. Unfortunately, all the past characters from Halloween were on there, but they didn't have an appearance rate up. And only the 5 stars were actually sparkable through worm sigils. So let's say you really wanted Halloween Lowen, or perhaps maybe you just wanted Halloween Odetta, Althemia, or Edward to a lesser extent. You may not have necessarily even gotten those in 300 summons, and you couldn't have sparked for them because that wasn't even an option. And if you really wanted Halloween Mim or Halloween Elisan, sure, there was a very small chance you could get them on your way to 300 summons, but realistically, it was more likely you were going to have to spark for them, while potentially picking up some of the newer Halloween characters, Akasha and Melsa, as you were doing your summoning, and even Gala Alex, since she was on that remix. So the good thing is everything was on one banner. You didn't have to split your resources across multiple banners. The bad thing was it took a lot more summons to try clean everything out, especially if you were lacking like multiple of the past characters. Say multiple 5-star past characters, you might have had to spark on that twice, which frankly is probably impossible for a lot of players out there. So the fact that these are split up, it should make it more accessible if you specifically want to go for some of the 4 stars. In terms of the Dragonyule 4 stars, we have Dragonyule Zanefried. He's an excellent pickup, great backliner. Dragonyule Xander, not really all that remarkable. I would say Forager Cleo is going to be good enough, if not better, for players who are starting around this time, and I would say Dragonyule Xander is not one you want to have. And Dragonyule Nefaria is also there. Love the character, love Dragonyule Nefaria. She did get a little better in version 2.0, but still not a particularly good or useful character for too much. And at 5-star, we have Dragonyule Cleo, as well as Dragonyule Malura, and yeah, both are pretty good. Maybe one of them or both of them will get a Mana Spiral. That would be nice. Neither are like must-haves or anything, but they're both pretty solid. And then Core Saint Phoenix appeared on that showcase, but she isn't limited. She is a pretty good dragon, pretty solid as well. And also Dragonyule Jean, who right now doesn't have as many uses as she used to. There have been better water dragons released since she made her debut in the first year of Dragalia Lost. But she's a nice dragon to have in your collection. Another Sunlight Aura, of course, by forming a bond with her. And it could be a good time to pick her up if you're just going for some of the 4 stars in particular. I would say Dragonyule Zane is definitely the one to go for on that summon showcase. And yeah, the advantage to having it split, it's going to be easier to get him. Disadvantage being that you have to divide your resources across the 2 showcases. I hope they run at the same time, not one after the other, so that you can make those types of decisions more readily and swap between as needed. Let's say you get Zanefried and then decide, okay, the rest can go toward the other showcase with the new characters. As far as who the adventurers could be, honestly, I have no clue. I would not have expected some of the characters who have gotten alts to get alts, so I really have no idea. I have no idea who it might be. Malura is not a character I would have associated at all with Dragonyule, and yet she got a Dragonyule alt. And so I don't have any wild speculation or predictions. One of the first things that came to mind when I read it was maybe like Mascula and Laxi, because I try to think in pairs. But yeah, I have no reason to think it would be them necessarily. Otherwise, who else could it be? Like, it might be some characters related to the Ilian Church, perhaps, because of the nature of Dragonyule being kind of like a faith-based holiday. Maybe they could give us some main cast characters and give them an alt. Cleo just got another alt, so maybe we could get like an Elisan alt or something, or a Luca alt. But really no idea on that one, so I'm excited to see who it is. I expect them to be limited, and I personally think they will probably appear on a Gala remix. So this is right now my next target as far as what I'm saving up for and what I'll probably summon on. Okay, so Dragonyule Defenders. And if you haven't played it, the Dragonyule event, the only Dragonyule / Christmas / holiday event that's run in Dragalia Lost, it's currently available in the event compendium. So if you want to refresh on that, catch yourself up, you can play through that to familiarize yourself with Dragonyule already. And then we get a Dash of Disaster facility event making a return in mid-December. This will be a good opportunity to level up the facility obtained from this event to boost the stats of blade and wand wielding adventurers if you haven't already. This was also a really fun event, ran earlier in the year, I think in February, I want to say. Late February. I know Mitsuba's banner started in March, I think, so I think Valerio and Pipple shared a banner that was in late February. This was also a really fun event, cute story. Picaro may make a return in the story, maybe even be on the banner, because he is a character some of us thought might be summonable. Kind of an insufferable character, but personally for me, I would love to see Nazuna make an appearance on this. That is Mitsuba's sister. That would be nice if they, if they run a banner alongside this. I don't know that they will, since they don't really say that here. But in the past, we have gotten banners to fill out characters who were missing from the first run of events. Now, Mitsuba's sister didn't really appear in the storyline of this, so it's not necessarily the case that she'll just randomly show up at this time. And I don't even, there's nothing that implies she would be, usable in battle or playable. Really, the only thing that's notable about her, portrait is that she has an abacus, and she's very clearly not an NPC, just like a random NPC. She has her own portrait. We could also potentially see Premia from Valerio's story, who is a princess that meets a tragic end in some ways. So, I would love to see a showcase alongside this to kind of round out the crew from this original event. It's an event I definitely enjoyed, and facility events are kind of simple. They're solo-based. It's a good sync for your stamina. Hopefully the rewards are okay, but I think for both of these events that are happening, the Onslaught and the facility event, I'm expecting to not have a lot of Wormite from these rewards, honestly. I don't think we're going to get a sudden influx of summoning resources just from these events. So then, we also have Chapter 17 of the main campaign being added in mid-December. All of these in mid-December. Wow, this was mid-December? This is mid-December, so I don't think these are all going to happen at once. I presume they're going to stagger them a little bit, at least I hope so. The first destination our heroes set out for in the land of North Grestia is a place called Grams. Many characters will debut in this chapter, so get ready to remember new names and faces. Okay, so I think this is going to be potentially a much bigger game changer than Chapter 16. Chapter 16 laid the groundwork. It was the foundation. I haven't talked about the interlude yet. I didn't record a reaction to that, but I will throw a little bit in here about what I thought on the interlude. As far as Chapter 16, I feel like it was kind of unexciting and uneventful, but also sort of necessary to kind of round up the crew, figure out what was going on in the wake of Chapter 15, which was a huge chapter, and also it was a chapter that could sort of be seen as an introductory chapter for players who are just jumping into Dragalia Lost, and that timing worked out well with the anniversary. It was really just a setup chapter, show you all the different players, some of the conflicts, and I was happy in the interlude that a lot of the questions I had, the lingering threads, for example, about Valix and a few other characters, were resolved in the interlude. I was happy about that, with the one thing that wasn't really resolved being, what is going on with the dragons and the great worms? Why are they not playing a role or being involved in the story to a greater degree, since they probably have a lot of information that could be helpful to our main party? So other than that factoid about the dragons, I was pretty pleased with the interlude, so I'm excited about Chapter 17. we're on our way north. We went through Royale / Chanzelia by its new name. And you may know, if you've played through the adventure story of the character we get in Chapter 16, that, well, Aurelius's father waged war with the North from the city of Chanzelia against the city of Grams. So there was a ceasefire put in place, but there was some tension between South Grastia, where the Kingdom of Alberia is, and North Grastia along that fault line that crosses or that separates Grams from Royale, which is now Chanzelia. So Grams could be a very interesting place to show up. We also know from some of our side events that is kind of the house of the northern branch of the Ilian faith that involves the different archangels and the apostles, such as Nevin and Pinon. We know of at least a couple of the archangels, like Ramiel, Gabriel, and I don't know if Sandalphin's an archangel. I think she's actually just like a helper or a liaison or something. I'm not sure that she's actually an archangel, but we also know of another apostle called Basilius, and that's kind of a mysterious character. We know that there's somebody called Gatov, who was an acquaintance of Aurelius, that knows something about Prince Eudin and his origins. So there's a lot of things intersecting here in Grams, and Chapter 17 could really blow out a lot of this stuff. I hope they don't dilly-dally with the plot beats in this one, because I'm really expecting a lot here, especially with it being sort of the end-of-year main event type chapter. There's also just, if you go to the Dragalia Lost website today, there's new splash art that was put there around the 2nd anniversary. There's characters that we've never seen before. There's a girl with blue hair, no idea what she's about. We also know that the Fairy Kingdom is in the north. We really don't know what that's like in the present day. We know Finlorda, the, I think, king of the fairies, is in the north. So a lot could happen in Chapter 17, and I'm really looking forward to it overall. We also hear about Time Attack coming in December, in this month in Dragalia Lost. This had the potential to be something negative, but when I read it over it the first time, I actually thought to myself that it was probably going to be implemented pretty well based on what I'm reading here. So let's read through it together again. The Time Attack Challenges event will be held in late December. Players will have a wider variety of quest difficulties to tackle this year when compared to last, and the rankings themselves will only apply to a certain selection of high difficulty quests. Rewards will be adjusted to account for these changes. Players who complete eligible solo quests within the allotted time will receive rewards. Eligible quests are the Imperial Onslaught, Void Battles, Advanced Dragon Trials on Standard Difficulty, and the Agito Uprising on Standard Difficulty. Love to see this. This is what I had hoped for with the original Time Attack. It's not comparative, basically pitting players against one another to compete in groups for the best time possible, but in solo play, it's going to be based around completing the quest within a certain time. Essentially, if you're able to do it within a certain time, you're eligible to receive rewards. I love that. That makes it open for players of all skill levels, all backgrounds, all access as far as Discord, friend groups, powerful dragons, etc., to potentially complete this. It means that you're going to be able to see things like budget setups where, let's say the goal is to clear within 60 seconds, there will be lots of different ways to accomplish that, because the goal isn't to beat everybody else, it's to just try get it done so you can get the rewards. I really feel a lot more positive about that part of things compared to how Time Attack was executed last year, where I felt like it led to a lot of toxicity and, I guess, fractionalization, or factionalization rather. I mean, both are sort of about division, but like people forming their own blocks and groups and cliques, alliances, to try specifically focus on just working only with other strong players to get the fastest times possible. And in public lobbies, it became very difficult to matchmake because some players really wanted to focus on the time attack aspect of things and get higher rankings, while others were just struggling to even clear the content and wanted somebody who would play with them. And I think the game works best when the quests operate in such a way that it encourages stronger and weaker players to group together without a fear of failure. One of the issues I felt with the master difficulty of the High Dragons when it first came out was it led to a lot of polarization. That happens even now with new content, where if you are at a higher might level or you have more experience, you have a higher player level, like there are all sorts of ways players can filter so that they are only playing with the elite of the elite, and then the players who were maybe struggling to begin with end up grouping together and it's even more of a struggle. Like, this is solo only, so this would already avoid some of those co-op issues, but the great thing about this is you're probably going to see content of people doing it in the time limit. I will definitely try do, some budget clears or clears with welfare characters to try do it within the time limit, and I think this leads to a more collaborative environment overall. People are going to want to be helping each other out, figuring out how to make this work for them. And it's also nothing that's super high difficulty. So if you've been somebody who's intimidated by the Advanced Dragon Trials or the Agito Uprising, I can safely say that up to the standard Agito Uprising is very accessible even now. It's just that not a lot of players who have advanced far in the game have really spent a lot of time seeing or explaining how to do that with less invested characters and resources. So I'm happy about that part of things. And the next part I'm not unhappy about, so let me read through this. Rankings will be aggregated separately between solo and co-op play. Eligible quests for solo play are the Agito Uprising on standard difficulty, and eligible quests for co-op play are the Agito Uprising on expert difficulty. Okay, so this is the ranking component of things. There's the first component, which is just do it within the allotted time limit, and then there is still a ranking component where you'll get rankings based on your solo speed in standard Agito Uprising and based on your co-op speed in expert Agito Uprising. Rankings will be updated daily, and players will be able to see information on which teams are used. Here's the part that personally appealed to me. Players who place in the top tier of these rankings will not receive any special items, but they will be rewarded with an event-exclusive epithet for their effort. I like that about things. I'm hoping that some of those great rewards we got from Time Attack last year will be put into this easier difficulty content so that the rewards are more available for all. One of the reasons I think a lot of players disliked Time Attack was it created a big income disparity, income inequality, with players who ranked super high getting like additional Damascus ingots, additional Wormite, a lot of extra stuff, and players who ranked poorly or weren't able to clear the content to even be ranked at all, not getting anything. That was a pretty big feel bad. So the fact that the ranking component is now just about getting these exclusive epithets or titles, I feel like this is going to go over a lot better with the community, particularly the more casual audience. And hopefully for the more casual audience, some of those really nice rewards like the ingots, the Wormite, will be put into the other endeavors here that are just about, can you clear it in X amount of time or not, that are more of a personal accomplishment. So overall, I'm happy to see this. I have to be honest, the thing I'm unsure of is just like these Agito fights, some of them are super busted, man. So like, are we going to be doing 8-second Expert Twins Agito? Like, if the people who care a lot about these epithets, it's going to be kind of degenerate, because for expert difficulty and standard difficulty, you can use off-element characters. Like, are all the leaderboards just going to be mono Karina and maybe with a Mitsuba thrown in here and there? Like, that is going to be something to really see, and it could really reflect some of the issues with game balance if they're updating this daily and you go check out the website and you see, like, this isn't Dragalia Lost, this is actually Karina Lost right now. Unfortunately, that issue I feel has even seeped into the legend difficulty of Volk, where yes, you can take off-element shared skills, off-element dragons, and really break things in half. Although those speed clears using off-element dragons and off-element shared skills aren't that much faster than just doing a regular clear, but the off-element shared skills certainly help, for sure. The dragons you can kind of take or leave, but there are some really fast ones. The Marth one that's sub 1 minute on Legend is just kind of ridiculous that is allowed to exist. That being said, I've always been kind of a person that doesn't really care if people are doing cheese. Like, it doesn't bother me fundamentally. I'm pretty happy to just do the quest how I want to do it and let people other than me do it however they want to do it. The issue comes up usually with matchmaking and players trying to do a certain strategy in pubs, but others trying to do another strategy, and there's no way to really communicate or coordinate there. I tend to use Discord more these days, and for that reason, I haven't ran up against that issue as much. From what I've read in the comments, some of you have had a lot harder time in quick play or in public lobbies avoiding the Karina rooms or finding the Karina rooms or whatever it may be. So hopefully things don't get too crazy in that regard, where for, several weeks the rooms are just locked down with only people trying to get the best times. But it also could breathe some life into lobbies that aren't as active, because some of these expert Agito trials, if it's easy to auto them, there's not that many people playing co-op for them anymore. So overall, I think that this actually could be good. And looking back on the first time attack, as much salt and as much pain as there may have been with the first introduction of competitive elements to Dragalia Lost, I also think at the end of the day, it was just extra free stuff. Nothing was really taken away. It was just the disparity and how that was spread out among the player base that ended up making people feel bad. So similarly, I think at the end of the day, trying to put a positive note on this, it's extra free stuff that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Now, we're getting less free stuff in other ways of the game, so, you could say what you want about that, but overall, I'm not unhappy about this. I'm kind of intrigued. I'm kind of curious. What is it going to be like for solo? You don't see too many solo speedruns out there. Can you set up Mitsuba comps in solo? Is it even worth doing that? Do you just skill prep on everybody? I'm intrigued. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And I hope they disable helpers. I don't know. It's going to be a huge advantage potentially to have a Royale helper, because you could immediately dragon, right? So that could be a total game changer in how fast you can clear a solo Agito on standard difficulty. Alright, I guess that's enough about time attack. So future updates. A year-end update for the Alberian Battle Royale is in the works. We plan to add new map mechanics and the ability to use skins of the adventurers in your roster and weapons in your inventory. Very, very cool. Please note that skins for some, but not all, adventurers can be unlocked with certain items or traded for in the treasure trade. Alright, so that's kind of how things work right now. These adjustments will help keep the mode fresh, so be sure to check it out if you haven't played for a while. And as a plug, Alberian Battle Royale is available today. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, and it's also available tomorrow on Thursday. I definitely recommend you check it out. If you want to collect all the rewards for December, you do have to get quite a few battle points, and it's only available Wednesdays and Thursdays going forward. It's worth getting those rewards. There's some good ones in there, like Champion's Testaments, Twinkling Sands, and in the treasure trade there's also Sunlight Ore and some golden fragments. So there's a genuine incentive to play this mode right now, and the way the new payouts are on the points, it's highly discouraged to try just AFK and accumulate points that way. You get a lot more points by actually making it further into the mode and surviving and even winning a Battle Royale match. So personally, I have really been enjoying this. It's a break from what I normally do in Dragalia. I tend to use up a lot of my stamina and ashes and Gather Wings all the time, and then I don't have a lot of things to do, so I go into Battle Royale, play a few matches, or while I'm in between other stuff, I can play a few rounds and see how I do. I'm not that good, but I have gotten some win streaks, 3 or 4 wins in a row. But the great thing is, if you do have an off run where you lose fairly early or middle of the pack, that's time saved that you can then start the next run up right away. It's firing off faster now that players actually have an incentive to participate in it. So for me personally, it's running smoothly, it's an enjoyable diversion, and I like that there's no pay-to-win elements. It's not heavily toxic or competitive. It's just like a quaint addition to Dragalia Lost, and I say quaint, but I'm sure they put a lot of development resources into this mode. And yeah, I know it's not for everybody. I've been surprised to see, even with the revisions that were made, the majority of the people that I've seen on this still don't like the mode and just don't want this in Dragalia Lost. For me, at the end of the day, like, I'll probably play it and kind of like it along the way while getting the free rewards. So I'm happy about it, but I do think maybe they've overtuned or overcorrected a little bit as far as the amount they expect you to play every month. They could probably come down a little bit on the monthly point total you need to get for the battle points. Either that or just give out more points per run, and I think it would still be finely balanced. But overall, Alperian Battle Royale, pleasant surprise for me. Now that I'm getting back into it, it's actually been pretty fun. Besides the Battle Royale, we are working hard on high difficulty quests to succeed the Agito Uprising and hope to release more information sometime next year. As a sneak peek, have a look at the design of one of the bosses you can expect to battle. Alright, there is our boss. So immediately when I saw this, the first thing that came to my mind was actually Cupid. The red horns kind of remind me of the horns on Cupid, our dragon, so that's the first thing I thought of. What's behind it appears to be kind of a halo, and for that reason, I am part of the camp that thinks this might be one of our archangels. I said this in some of my videos where we were trying to predict what was happening for the second anniversary, because one of the things that we considered was they might tease the next set of endgame trials, and they didn't really reveal who those endgame trials would be against. We considered that it might be like the siblings, or maybe it could be the archangels, maybe the Worm Clan leaders or something. And to me, among those, this looks most like an archangel. It might be something else that we just haven't been introduced to. Maybe in this next story chapter, we're going to learn a lot more about Grams, and maybe this is just some other entity. Maybe this is like one of the dragon leaders of Pravda, the militant dragon allegiance that roams the north. Like, who knows what this could be. But design-wise, I'm definitely getting like a fallen angel type of look here. Oh, well, maybe if, we have the archangels, maybe these could be like, the fallen angels. Like, maybe there's some Lucifer character or something in Dragalia. That would be kind of crazy. Well, I don't know. We fought Otherworld Royale, so it would be kind of weird to fight the archangels since Royale is one of them, unless something changes to really shake things up with the northern branch of the Ilian Church. We got a sense that there's some type of intrigue afoot at the end of our facility event. Gosh, I forgot the name of the facility event already. What was that facility event called with Weekend Walker? I can't remember the name of the facility event with Nevin and Pinon. That's so sad. Oh yeah, Agents of the Goddess. So, who knows? There may be some mysterious happenings that justify the fact that we're fighting archangels, but when I see this, that's what I think. So, we'll learn more, I guess, toward the end of the year or next year. After our new difficulty boss fights or new high difficulty quests, we find out that the next Legend difficulty quest for the Agito Uprising will be made available in late January of 2021. A little further out than I expected, but I don't mind that. It gives me more time to work on Legend Volk. We will provide further information, including which boss will be featured, in an upcoming notification posted in-game and on the official social media channels. So, surprised that they just, they hint that it might not necessarily be Kaiyan because they're going to announce which boss is featured. That's interesting. It could be any of the bosses. I thought they might go in the same order to kind of, roughly space out the time between high difficulty content of each element, if that makes sense. So, like, Volk had been around the longest, so to me it made sense they started with Volk because we had a really long time since we got hard content that favored flame element adventurers. So to me it would make sense that the next one would be Kaiyan because that came out second. It's been a long time since we had hard difficulty content that favors shadow characters. Although, I don't even know. I was going to say although Shadow's kind of good in everything, but really these days it feels a lot more like water is really what's good in everything. So I guess they may not necessarily be releasing Kayan next. It could be another Agito. And if they mix it up, I'm all for that. Like, the fact that we're getting another series of high difficulty quests, if this, for example, look at this boss. Like, this boss could be light element, for all I know, just looking at it. That would sort of fulfill the niche of having a place to use our shadow characters, and then they could change the release order for the Agito to give us a different element, so that we have 3 really high difficulty quests and are able to use and kind of mix and match our characters in a different way. So yeah, I guess as far as who I would most like to see, I would probably say Ciela, honestly, because I think that besides Volk, Ciela has started to play the biggest role in the campaign, and I think there's some possibility they could introduce the Berserk modes in the campaign, and that would be pretty sweet. So even though Ciela isn't really a fight that mechanically I'm all that excited about, I wasn't super thrilled with the master difficulty of Ciela, and Legend might just be really obnoxious with rebounding arrows galore, and if she goes berserk, it could be extremely painful and just awful to play. But I'm kind of here for it. The Legend difficulty has a certain appeal. I don't know if it's a masochistic appeal or what, but like, repeatedly trying and failing those quests does bring me a lot of satisfaction. So I would be happy if Ciela comes out, even though I think it would be one of the more painful ones. Kayan probably would be just as painful, because Master Kayan solo is still probably the hardest Master difficulty Agito to solo, I think. Besides Agito, though there will not be a year-end episode of Dragalia Digest this year, please rest assured that the traditional end-of-year events will be arriving in full force, including a Lucky Letters raffle and login bonus. So sad that there's no digest, happy to hear about the raffle and login bonus, look forward to further details soon. I think we had the Lucky Letter raffle, I'm not sure if we had it 2 years or just 1 year. I have a very vague memory of it. I don't even really... I know it happened, but it's so weird. I have like almost no memory of it. I think it's just the holiday season, and that not really being a time when I'm as focused on Dragalia, just compared to like family and other activities and travel, at least last year. And so, yeah, I don't really have a strong memory. I know that there was a prize showcase happening, and like, then it was the new year. There was Dragonyule, and then it was the new year, and there was like a cleaning event. So I expect to see a lot of that kind of stuff for late December. I'm glad a lot of the stuff they announced, other than Time Attack, is mid-December, because I will probably take a little bit more time to myself rather than making Dragalia videos for the later half of December for sure. In addition, this year will close out with a Hinomotoan themed event, just as previous ones did. However, unlike the events of the past 2 years, this one will have a slightly different atmosphere and will shine a light on those who would oppose the 12 Worm clans rather than work with them. Finally, we plan to start the new year off right with an announcement in early January, so I hope you'll find time for some Dragalia Lost fun throughout this holiday season. Alright, so the Hinomotoan themed event, I am loving it, I'm excited. I made a video, I guess last week, about the different Hinomotoan events and lore that we've had so far, specifically the New Year's ones, talking about Amaterasu, the head dragon in Hinomoto, speculating about some of the Worm Clan leaders based on the epilogue for a Clawful Caper. I'm really excited for this event. This should be pretty interesting. Maybe we'll get some actual intrigue, some politics of what's happening with the Worm Clan leaders in Hinomoto. Some of those silhouettes may be revealed and we'll see the full characters. And based on, well, we'll get into this. Let's read through this last bit, and then we'll get into both data mine as well as summoning situation to close out the video. So, in conclusion, this is the final installment of this month in Dragalia Lost for the year of 2020, so please let me close out this tumultuous time with 2 simple words. Thank you. I and everyone who works with me to bring the Dragalia Lost game to life would like to express our gratitude to you for playing and supporting the game this year. Please take care of yourself and others and use the holiday season as a time to rest and recharge. If our game has brought a smile to your face this year, then we have done our jobs. Love that. Could not have said it better myself. Almost gives me chills. I'm happy that Okada made a statement like this. It really has been a crazy year, so whatever you've gone through this year, I hope that Dragalia has brought you some enjoyment as it has for myself. It has been a rough year for a lot of folks, and I think that probably applies to the development team of this game, as well as to the player base. Everybody has gone through something this year or knows somebody who has, and I'm glad that they acknowledged that in a way that they really hadn't in any prior posts. So I was happy to see this, and I was happy to see free 10-fold voucher. Now, some players read through this all and were disappointed because they didn't address the summoning situation. That is honestly kind of what I expected for two different reasons. One of them is that a lot of times the player feedback is addressed in another column that is the Radio Castle interviews. Those get posted and Okada responds to feedback separately a little bit after the This Month in Dragalia Lost, so I didn't really expect to see that here. I think if we see it at all, it's more likely to be there. But the second reason is just that if they really just have reduced our Wormite and our summoning income, like tickets, there's really not that great of a way to package or message that, to be honest. Like, it might be just better to not say anything than to say anything at all that could draw the ire and backlash of part of the player base. So what I expect will probably happen is in the next response to feedback, or maybe the one after that, they will say, we received a lot of inquiries about the lack of summoning resources, and they may acknowledge, they may just say, thank you for your understanding. We have, I don't know if they'll even say reduced, but we have adjusted the summoning resource distribution in accordance with our changes to the summoning system in version 2.0, aka sparking existing, and please understand that blah blah blah, right? It'll be probably kind of hand wavy. I don't think that it's going to necessarily change. It may get a little bit better, but from the calculations I've seen, we still got over 150 summons in the month of November, which was pretty good. That's half of a Worm Sigil, half of a Spark. That's a pretty decent amount of summons for your typical gacha game, but less than what Dragalia had given in the past. So there are still some players who are going to feel burnt out after reading this. Those players who really like to summon and summon on a variety of banners, probably this is not going to sate their appetite for wanting to summon more and just wanting to have more summoning resources available. So I want to recognize that and acknowledge that, but also say, I'm happy with the message here, the 10-fold voucher overall. I wasn't really expecting too much more on that front, honestly. To me, it's just the reality that we're in now, and I'm just trying to be more judicious and save more, basically, to accommodate for that, because there are a lot of other reasons I like playing Dragalia Lost, like the gameplay and the story, rather than just for the purpose of summoning. At some point, summoning just becomes a fearful activity that you hope you can get out of as quickly as possible, in my opinion, because there's just so many things you already have, at least with the rate we were getting summoning currency before. So the last thing I'll talk about is this announcement. We plan to start off the new year with an announcement in early January, so I hope you'll find time for some Dragalia Lost fun throughout the holiday season. So this is where we get into the Datamines and Leaks and potential spoiler territory. So if you've watched this long, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. But if you want to hear me talk about this is the place to hear it. So from what I gather, the big thing that was datamined or leaked was there were character names found for characters who are from Persona 5. I think it's Scramble is what it's called. It's a spin-off of Persona 5. I really don't know a lot about Persona 5, but certain characters from it, I think Morgana and Joker and some others, their names were in the code of Dragalia temporarily in one of the versions of the game, and then in subsequent versions, that code was no longer to be found. And before the Monster Hunter collab, we had MH Lance, MH Bow, there was something in the code at that time as well to indicate that we might be getting the characters we eventually did end up getting. So there's a decent possibility, a very real possibility, that we could have a Persona 5 collab, and Persona hasn't been shy about doing collabs with other gacha games, so it seems very real. No coincidence in my mind that we also got the Phantom Thief Lapis. She could possibly appear in that event, and it would be really awesome. So obviously there's a lot of excitement around this. Persona 5 was, Game of the Year caliber when it released. Unfortunately, I'm not in the PlayStation ecosystem at all. I don't have a way to play this game. I've been wanting it to come to the Switch. Even I would take Persona 4 Golden on the Switch for sure, in a heartbeat. But for that reason, it's not like something my heart is set on. I just don't know enough about it. I have liked, Persona adjacent games. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a lot of people say it's kind of like Persona, but obviously there's a lot of different elements. It's Nintendo-ified to a degree, but that might be the closest type of game I've played. I've never played the Q games, which were on the DS and 3DS and stuff, so I just don't know enough. I love the designs, love the aesthetic, love the, the Game Awards Joker reveal. That was awesome. So I'm very excited about it, and the fact that Monster Hunter was, February? If they're announcing something big in January, it could very easily be this Persona collab. Now, that being said, a lot of things are planned in game development that never come to fruition. There's also a possibility that these were just artifacts in the code, or maybe there was a deal potentially in the works at one time, and it's not actually going to happen. So bear that in mind. That is a possibility. That there's definitely evidence to suggest that there could be something, but it also just may not manifest itself into reality. And similarly, it wasn't just Persona 5 that interesting data was found for. There was a character name for Seimei, for Gatov, that I think I mentioned in my summoning video, as well as some characters with Hinomotoan names that might appear in the new year that are actually based on characters in Japanese history, so we may get some more of those. There were also some names in there of characters in Grand Blue Fantasy, like Cagliostro, I think the name is, that apparently, from what I've been told, are iconic and super beloved characters. I, not knowing that much about Grand Blue Fantasy, sadly can't really comment on, the quality of those. I think there's one, Narmaya, something like that also seems to be quite popular. So potentially, it's not even just the Persona news, but GBF news. Maybe they're opening the door, as some other gacha games have once they've kind of established their identity, to much more frequent collabs. That could be an interesting direction for Dragalia. Maybe this Princess Connect is an experiment, try get some Princess Connect fans into the game. I've definitely read a couple comments of players who actually came to Dragalia from Princess Connect, which kind of surprised me. But certainly, if some of these really big games are coming to Dragalia in collabs, that is a way of advertising the game. So I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic about what that could mean for the future. I think that might be what we get announced in early January, and if so, I'm sure some of you out there are going to lose your minds for this. It's a ways off, so I'm not stressed about saving up for it now, but February will be here before we know it, hopefully. So yeah, that's something to really look forward to for this coming year in Dragalia Lost. And, that's going to do it for this video, everyone. I think that's all I want to say on this month at Dragalia Lost. It's been an awesome year overall for Dragalia, in my opinion. It's been rocky at times, but there have been some real highs. I think as far as looking back on the year, the music, the production value on the featured events this year was really amped up to another level, with a more diverse cast of musical talent lending their contributions to the game. We've seen a lot of really cool characters make their appearance, some cool collabs between Fire Emblem, Monster Hunter, and now Princess Connect. I think that Dragalia did pretty well for itself overall in 2020, and although we're going through a little bit of a slower period as far as our resource acquisition and summoning currencies, I do hope that if you've enjoyed Dragalia all this time, you stick around to see what's next, because it could be very, very exciting. That is going to do it for this video, everyone. Thank you, as always, for watching. Let me know what you're most excited about from this month in Dragalia Lost in the comments below. Otherwise, take care, and I'll see you next time.